What's up everybody? Today I'll be reviewing the Post Heavy Skull and Respawnables. This weapon is a zombie tagged fire based heavy machine weapon that you unlock at level 1 and it costs 450 zombie knights. As you can see, here are the weapon's main stats: 4 damage, 3 range, 3 accuracy and 1 agility. This weapon also comes with its own passive skill that you can see by pressing the preview button, or in this case the inspect button. The perk is influenced by this weapon's ammo type, which is in this case fire, as it states that this weapon burns enemies, causing damage over time and reduces defense by 20%. And of course, the causing damage over time and reducing defense by 20% is against your enemies, not against yourself. In this review, I will be using a Pocket Gamer article which contains some exclusive information given to them by Digital Legends about some of the stats of this weapon. And I will be using this article so you guys can get a better understanding of those stats. So the ones that they mention are damage, rate of fire, range, ammo, and reload time. So let's start off with the ammo capacity, which this weapon holds 90 rounds in the clip, which is a ton. Continuing that trend, the heavy machine weapons, especially heavy machine guns, carry a ton of ammo in the clip. So my first tip because of this is to not reload as much as you usually would with other weapons. This way you won't get surprised by anybody while you're reloading and you're always ready for action. So now I'll move on to the damage. The damage comes in at 50. Now of course you also have your additional fire damage, which is sadly not mentioned in the article, but from my own experience I have found that the damage of the fire is a little bit higher than most fire weapons that I have at least. The Post Heavy Skull also has damage drop off, just like a lot of other weapons in the game. But do keep in mind that your fire damage and your reduction in defense by 20% stays the exact same no matter from what range you attack at. So let's talk a little bit more about the range. The range comes in at 60 meters, so you're definitely capable of reaching long range targets. So now we'll talk about the accuracy. So the accuracy is pretty bad with this weapon. Also the precision isn't that good, thanks to the accuracy being already pretty bad. And at range, this obviously makes it even harder to hit people, as people are smaller targets. So as you can see here in this next clip, not all of the rounds go directly to the center of the crosshairs, so this might mean that you get a few more lucky headshots because of this. And just like a lot of other weapons, this weapon experiences a decrease in accuracy while moving. So another tip is to stand still when you're shooting at something, so you're at least more accurate than while you're moving. Now of course, if you've managed to get your accuracy while moving better than your accuracy while standing still with this weapon, you obviously do not need to worry about this tip. But overall, accuracy increasing equipment is recommended since you won't miss as many shots, therefore killing your enemies faster. Now let's move on to this weapon's agility, which is decent. It only took about 12 seconds to reach from one side of Royal Garden to the other, which is my agility test. This is a bit faster than some of the other heavy machine weapons in the game. The Post Heavy Skull also has a special feature that ties in with the agility, and that's if you hold down the fire button, your movement speed will be reduced by 50%. As you can see here in this clip, now it will take twice as long to reach the end of Royal Garden here, which is 24 seconds instead of 12. Another thing that's interesting about this is if you empty your clip while holding down the fire button, as you probably know, you will automatically start reloading, but even then, your movement speed will be reduced by 50%, while if you regularly reload by tapping the reload button, this is not the case. Now we'll move on to this weapon's fire rate, which is 8 rounds per second. This combined with the high damage makes for a very high killing rate or damage per second. With this fire rate, you will empty your entire clip in about 11.25 seconds. So then you'll have to reload of course, and according to the article this will take 3.9 seconds. However, I found this to be quite a bit shorter at 3 seconds, which is still pretty long, so a good tip is to stay covered while you're reloading so nobody can harm you while you can't harm them. Finally, the Post Heavy Skull's velocity is an instant hit, so you shouldn't have to worry about having to shoot ahead of the enemy to make sure that your round will hit that target. As long as your accuracy is good, you should be able to hit them even all the way across the map at long distances. So that's the overview of all of this weapon stats. And it looks like we have finished this first match. So let's see how many kills and how many deaths we got in this one. And we got 37 kills and 11 deaths, which I would call a good score. So now in the second match, we're in Sandtown and we're also up against much better enemies in a smaller environment compared to the last match, which was in Snow Village. I think the post-heavy skull is best used in mid to long range maps where you can create some distance from the close range weapons, which usually have better agility because fleeing them isn't really an option. But this weapon is still pretty powerful, so you should be able to use it even in a smaller map like Sandtown. So as you've probably already noticed, I'm using different equipment this time. In the last match, I was using noob clothes and I wasn't using any masteries. This time I'm using much better clothes and I also have the masteries equipped. So I'm using the X-Spy Mystic Beard, which each time I get a kill, my accuracy increases. I don't know by how much it increases, but if you do know, please let me know with some proof behind it in the comments. But do keep in mind that it resets your accuracy each time you die. In addition, this head also gives us another 12% accuracy increase, which makes this weapon that much better. I'm also using the Mobile Assisted Unit Jacket, which gives us a 20% damage increase. And I'm also using the Celtic Pants, which gives us another damage increase. And again, I'm unaware of how much it actually increases, but if you know it, please let me know with some proof in the comments. And as I've said, we also have the masteries equipped. So I'm using Burning Spirit 1, which increases our accuracy by 50% while moving. This is a great buff for the weapon, so you'll miss even less shots, so you'll kill even faster. This also makes the tip that I gave you, that you have to stand still to get more accurate useless, since now your accuracy while moving is greater than the accuracy while standing still. We also have Burning Spirit 2 equipped, which increases our reload speed by 25% while moving, and that brings our reload time from about 3 seconds to about 2.25 seconds. We are also using Burning Spirit 3, which increases our rate of fire by 25% while moving. However, I found no rate of fire increase while using this, so hopefully Digital Legends fixes this in a future update. Then we're also using Glass Cannon, which gives us another 100% damage increase. And finally, we're also using Zombie Bull, which isn't really a buff to the weapon, but it does give our health back that Glass Cannon takes away, and it of course takes away our automatic regeneration as well. That's why I also have medikits equipped. Also keep in mind that all of these damage boosts also affect your fire damage, so this will make it a lot easier to finish enemies off. Now the equipment that I'm using to buff this weapon may not suit you, but you can use your own of course. Now with all of this weapon kills super fast, and of course with the 20% reduction in defense allowing you to kill even faster as they won't have as much protection against you, this weapon is truly one of the most overpowered weapons in the game. The killing rate is insane. It's almost an instant death for everyone, and it is an instant death for a lot of people since this gun can easily one-shot players if you have this buff equipped. The range is still very far as well, and the damage you're able to deal at that range is also still very high. The accuracy, as you've seen here in this clip when buffed, can also be pretty good as well, combined with a decent agility, a decent reload speed when buffed, an enormous clip capacity of 90 rounds, and unavoidable instant hitting bullets. The post-heavy skull easily makes it in the top 20 best weapons of Respawnables. I mean, just look at that multi-kill that I just got right there. So now I'll share you my final tip for this weapon, and that's to shoot the enemy spawn shield, because as they come out, they're gonna buy a huge amount of fire damage, because the fire damage does stack. So you can ignore them, move on to your next enemy, because you know they'll die, and this way you will also increase your kill count, which is obviously something that you want. This was really a crazy match. There were so many insanely overpowered weapons being used by everybody in such a small map that it made it very hard to stay alive, but I managed to still come out victorious as I killed these last few enemies. In the previous match, we got 37 kills and we got 11 deaths, so let's see how many kills and how many deaths we'll get now. And we got 47 and 11, which I would call a much better score. So now I'll share you my final opinion about the post-heavy skull. I really like this weapon a lot. I think it's one of the most overpowered weapons in the game. It doesn't take much skill at all. Movement is really not that important with this weapon, and of course that takes away from the skill. Again, I think that this weapon is best used in mid to long range maps, but it's still pretty effective in close range maps since this weapon is pretty versatile. I also think that this weapon looks very cool. In my opinion, it's the coolest looking zombie weapon. And I also think that the rounds fired by the post-heavy skull look very cool as well. The weapon of course looks very similar to the heavy machine gun. The sounds are also the exact same as well as the animations. Another thing that I like about it is that it's immediately unlocked at level 1, However, do keep in mind that it does cost 450 zombie knights, which is a lot more than the average cost of a zombie weapon at 320 zombie knights. And finally, I think that the post-heavy skull is currently the best zombie weapon in the entire game. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you thought of it with a like or a dislike and some feedback in the comments. If you want to support me and my channel, please consider subscribing, sharing this video and my channel with anybody who likes this type of content. That's it, that's all, bye.